What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so glad you're here. Before we get started, if you could please give this video a thumbs up, comment down below what you want to see in any upcoming vlogs, subscribe, make sure you turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a vlog, and tell all your friends. So today I'm here to talk to you about my current diet plan and routine. So 90% of the year I follow more of an intuitive lifestyle where I eat what I want. I eat probably 90% of the time pretty healthy, whole, nutritious foods, and then 10% I splurge and have more snacks and good sweets and things like that. And then I eat when I'm hungry, I try and stop when I'm full, and I kind of know my portion sizes from years of tracking macros. And that's just what works well for me. Currently I am doing my summer shred, and I find that when I have a specific goal that I'm trying to reach, I need to be a little bit more in tune with my nutrition. I need to be a little bit more specific on what I'm eating and how I'm tracking it. So that's what I'm here to talk to you all about today. So my disclaimer before we even get started on all of this diet that I'm going to talk about, there is no right or wrong diet. There's 1,005 diets out there and all of them are fine. If it works for you, it works for you. What the most important things to remember with your diet are is it should be something that's easy for you to follow, something that doesn't cause you a lot of stress and anxiety, living a healthy lifestyle. You're not hurting yourself in any way, physically or mentally. Those are just some key points to remember when you're trying to decide on maybe a new diet plan that might work for you. The diet that I'm going to be talking about today is tracking your macros. You might have heard it as If It Fits Your Macros, IIFYM, flexible dieting. It's got all sorts of names. This diet's what I find works for me. It works well for a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I know. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. If you are not interested in macros and counting your macros, you can go ahead, stop the video now, and catch us back tomorrow for the next video. Otherwise, stick along. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of macronutrients and counting your macros and the whole If It Fits Your Macros lifestyle. We could probably do a 3-hour video on this explaining every single detail, ins and outs. But I just want to give you those bullet points, give you a little bit of a starting point, and hopefully answer any questions you may have. First things first, let's talk about what is a macro. A macro is a short term that we use for the word macronutrient. A macronutrient is one of the building blocks that makes up your food, essentially how many calories are in each food. There's 3 main macronutrients. They are protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Now, every food that you encounter has a different macronutrient profile. So everything from a banana to ice cream to chicken, everything in between is made up of a different combination of macros that provides the ultimate breakdown of that food and how many calories are in that food. So when you're counting macros, you're ultimately also counting your calories, but you're doing it in a little bit more of a specific way. So let's make that a little bit more clear. Each macronutrient, when we break it down into a gram, it has a certain calorie number that goes with it. So for example, protein, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. Carbohydrates are the same. 1 gram of carbohydrates is also 4 calories. Fats, where we get a little bit different. 1 gram of fat has 9 grams of calories. So based on those numbers, you can ultimately track the total calories for a food. So let's do a little example here. Let me look up a food. Let's look up a chicken breast. So we'll do 3 ounces of chicken. 3 ounces of chicken has 0 carbohydrates. It's got 25 grams of protein and like 1 gram of fat. So how can we calculate our total calories based on that? So we're going to do 25 grams of protein times 4 calories, which is 100 calories based on just the protein. Then we also had a gram of fat in there. So 1 gram of fat multiplied by 9 calories, because there's 9 calories per gram of fat, is 9. I did that on my calculator. Oh boy. For 3 ounces of chicken with 25 grams of protein and 1 gram of fat, that brings us to about 110, 109 calories, somewhere in there. You can see when you know your macronutrients, you can also figure out your total calories. So you're really tracking both, but in a very specific way. Let's talk a little bit about each macronutrient. First, we're going to talk about protein. Protein is your main macronutrient. It's what we call an essential macronutrient. Your body needs it to survive. So you can find protein in all your meats, but especially your lean meats, eggs and egg whites, it's in dairy, it's in fish, and it's in your supplements like your protein supplements and your protein bars. Generally, some like bullet points. Protein does a lot for your body. Here's some of the things it does do. It helps with muscle growth and repair. It helps with your immune function, helps with hormones, and when you're dieting, it helps preserve your lean muscle mass. Next, let's go into fat. So fat is your second macronutrient that is also an essential macronutrient. You need fat to survive. Your body needs it to live. You find fats in all of your nuts and nut butters. It's in dairy. It's in things like avocado. It's in a lot of your meats, especially your fattier meats like steak. It's in your oils, your olive oil, your coconut oil, your vegetable oil. It's also in your dairy, if I didn't say that. Fats are essential for growth and development. It's essential for energy. It helps with vitamin absorption. It helps maintain your cells and organs. And the main thing that you need to know about fats is that it helps with your hormone productions. So when you're really cutting out fats, this is when you can see a lot of hormone issues, especially in women. Next, let's talk about carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are your non-essential macronutrient, meaning you could live, although I don't recommend it, without carbohydrate. This is the one that we tend to manipulate the most, and you'll see a lot of the common diets and fad diets really cut out carbs altogether, which is not good. I'm not telling you, please never cut out all your carbs. You do need carbs. But carbs are essentially your main source of energy. That's their main function, is energy. So you're going to find carbohydrates in pretty much all your foods. Think a lot of your processed foods are going to be very high in carbs. So chips, cookies, pastas, bread, fruit, ice cream, all those types of things, potatoes, rice, they're all going to be very high in carbohydrates, and that's your main source of energy. Now that we know what are macronutrients, what are the three main macronutrients, how many calories and stuff like that are in each of them, you might be wondering, okay, Kim, well, how much do I eat? How do I know how much protein I need, how much carbs I need, how much fat I need? How do I figure out how many of those I need? When someone comes to me and I need to help them calculate about how much they should be eating, I base it off a lot of things because every single person is very different. So what I eat is not going to work for you. What Joe eats is not going to work for Bob. You get the idea. We base it off of a couple different things. So first I need to know your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. This essentially is all the factors that play into, and it's how many calories you burn a day at complete rest. So if you were just going to lay in bed all day long, which sounds so nice right now, you would still burn this many calories. Essentially, this is the lowest amount of calories you need to eat to survive and maintain your weight. Things that go into your BMR are your age, your height, your body weight, and your current body fat percentage. Now on top of that, because that's not the only thing when you're trying to figure out how much you should eat, you also need to take into account how much energy you're burning every single day, or what we call your total daily energy expenditure. This is things like, what do you do at your job? Are you sitting at your desk all day, or do you have a pretty active job? You're outside doing manual labor. That's going to burn a lot of energy and a lot of calories that sitting at your desk wouldn't, so we need to take that into account. Do you walk your dog? Do you go to the gym? What things are you doing aside from laying in bed that's going to increase how many calories your body needs to survive? Now, when you figure out all those things and you have all those things, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can figure out how many calories and how you should break down your macronutrients. There's a lot of calculators online. You can calculate it out yourself. The thing to remember is my macronutrient breakdown, just like calories and total things, may not be the best for you. You may do better with higher carbs and lower fat. I may do better with higher fat and lower carbs and a moderate amount of protein. It just depends, and this is where people get frustrated because it takes some time. If you get a macronutrient breakdown or you figure it out for yourself, it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to take a couple of weeks for you to start figuring out where your body wants to be. But those are some of the things we take into account when we're figuring out how many macros you should be eating. Generally, I always start with protein, and I recommend between like 0.7 grams to 1 gram of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, unless you're significantly overweight, and then we'd go off more of your lean mass. Otherwise, you'd be eating a boatload of protein. So there's, as you can see, there's a lot of factors that play into it, and it just takes a lot of time and education to figure out how to break down someone's macronutrients. That's why it's never a good idea to go to Joe Schmo on the street and get a meal plan, or it's not good to go on MyFitnessPal and they like break down your suggested macronutrients. It's not a good idea. So 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. I always try and keep people's fat at about 25% at least of their total daily calorie intake, and then your carbs kind of fill in the rest. So that's like my basic general starting point. Now we know what a macronutrient is, we know our 3 different types of macronutrients, and we have a general idea of what goes into figuring out how much you should be eating in a day. So now we ask, how the heck do you track all that? Like, how do you, I got these random numbers from my coach, and how do I figure out what that means? You're gonna need some tools to track your macronutrients. First, I recommend you buy a food scale, and then download a good app onto your phone. The one I'm currently using is My Macros Plus. Another good one is MyFitnessPal. And I'll do a more in-depth video later on how to actually track your macros using the scale, but essentially you can measure out your grams of each food. So half a cup of oatmeal is supposed to weigh 40 grams. So I can measure out 40 grams of oatmeal. I can type that into my macro app, and it's gonna tell me how many carbs, protein, and fat are in there. So that's like a general idea on how to track, but you definitely need a good scale and you need a good app. You're probably thinking right now, this is awesome. This sounds like I could eat whatever I want and I can lose weight. Well, that's kind of true, but it's also important to remember about your micronutrients. So your micronutrients are things like your vitamins, minerals, and your fiber. I always recommend to get at least 25 grams of fiber into your diet every single day, and this really pushes you more towards those whole foods. It's hard to get fiber, and then fiber is so important for your body, how your body processes food and how it digests and how it functions. So fiber is a very important micronutrient that we focus on. So you get it in, more of your vegetables and whole foods, whole wheat, bread, things like that is where you're going to find your fiber. So you can't forget about your micronutrients. And I find fiber is a really good one to focus on because you can track that in your app and you can count fiber, and it just kind of makes sure you're getting in a lot of those good foods as well. Okay, so last question that I get a lot are why do you track your macros? Like, why does this work for you? What are the benefits of it? Why is it good? It's like the best question you could ask. For me, tracking your macros, it's an amazing way to learn how to portion control, because you start seeing what 3 ounces of chicken looks like, what 1 or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter looks like, where before, I spoon out a thing of peanut butter and I was probably having 4 tablespoons, which is a lot of fat and extra calories. So it's really taught me, and I feel like it really teaches my clients how to portion control, so that when you get to a point where you don't need to track your macros, you've got a good visualization, is that how you say it, of what a portion size actually looks like of your food. So it really helps you move into an intuitive eating standpoint after. I also find that it's the least restrictive. You're not cutting anything out. I can eat whatever the heck I want. You've seen my meals. I make all sorts of food and I make it fit into my lifestyle because I don't want to cut anything out. As soon as I start feeling restricted on something, it doesn't work for me. I crave it, I feel awful, I want it all the time. So the least restrictive I can be, the better I feel physically and also mentally. It's more of a mental game for me, which dieting is a lot. It also teaches you where your food should be coming from. So calories in versus calories out is of course the main way you lose weight, but the main way you alter your body composition, so you want to lean out a little bit, you want to gain some muscle, you want to tone up, all those things, is you can't just lose weight per se, is you need to build muscle and lose fat. And the way you do that is through altering those macronutrients and not just calories alone. So you can really see more specific body changes when you're altering your macronutrients. Those are my main benefits of why I like to track my macronutrients. I hope that this video helped you out a little bit and at least gave you a little bit understanding into macronutrients and why this diet works so well for me. If you, like I said before, if you have further questions, please send me an email. I would love to help you out. Shoot me a message, shoot me a comment down below. I'll answer any questions that you have. So let me know what questions you got. I'll come back later on. We can talk a little bit more about macronutrients, and we can talk about more specifically how to track them and how to make meals out of things along those lines. So give this video a thumbs up. Thank you all. I'll see you again tomorrow.